previous verse looked at how mind with a capital M sets the triple world in motion. Mind with a capital M we can understand as enlightenment. It's enlightenment that is setting samsara in motion. So the previous verse explored that. It explored how within the vast ocean of experiencing something called discrimination takes place. And this is when the attention focuses on certain aspects of that ocean of experiencing. And the next verse, 460, looks at this discrimination in detail. Life, warmth, the Vijnana, the Alaya, the vital principle, Manas, Manovijnana. These are the names for discrimination. So some of these terms we're familiar with already. In fact, they came up in the previous verse. Vijnana, Alaya, Manas, Manovijnana. But we've got a few new ones here. Life, warmth, and the vital principle. We're looking at what keeps us entangled in limited understanding. It's a very natural process. As enlightenment practitioners, though, we want to be able to step back from this. And the way to step back from it is to understand how we're getting entangled. It's about unpicking the knots. So we're exploring the knot in some detail here so that we can unpick it and let it just fall out as if it never existed in the first place. Actually, that's quite a good analogy, isn't it? If we understand enlightenment as a string, not being enlightened is just that string tangled up in a knot. But actually it's not even a knot, it's one of these, it's some kind of pseudo knot, because if we can just pull it a little bit, it all just comes falling out and it's straight once again. So this is what we're doing here, we're following these little strands, and maybe we can just give them a tug and come back to mind itself. So it begins here with life. Now, one of the things that is referred to often in previous verses is body, property, and abode. These are the concerns of our everyday mind, of life itself. We need to look after our body. We need to extend that to protect our nearest and dearest. And we also have our property, which helps define us and gives us a sense of identity. I am what I have. So I'm going to suggest that this life is actually the body. Doesn't really matter though. Life is this situation we find ourselves in now. This is life. We don't think about it, we get on with it. So we get on with looking for warmth, looking for comfort. We try to avoid discomfort. So warmth here is very much to do with abode, our home, our hearth, security. The next term on the list is Vijnana. This is consciousness. In particular, it's consciousness with respect to the senses. It's consciousness which is directed out there. It's about being conscious of something, being aware of something. So, we're alive. We want to avoid discomfort. So we start looking for that which is pleasant to the senses. This is Vijnana. And the Alaya is used here in the sense of the samskara. It's related to a deep sense of who we are, psychologically speaking, the sort of person we are. Alaya is that aspect of consciousness which wants to direct itself into what it's being conscious of. It's that aspect of awareness which wants to direct itself out towards the objects of awareness. In other words, this process of life, warmth, Vijnana, is actually propelled by the very nature of consciousness itself. Now next we get mention of the vital principle, and this is usually understood as prana, I would think. But what prana means, it's in modern days it's identified with chi energy, some kind of mystical energy. And that interpretation often doesn't make sense in some of these early texts. It's sometimes described as the breathing, but it's not even that. It's the attention itself. The attention is the vital principle. If you can't attend to something, it means you're not aware of it. If you're not aware of something, you're going to succumb to it. So the vital principle is actually the attention, and it's fueled by the mind, manas. We direct our attention to that which is in our interests in terms of body, abode, and in this case it's property. So the vital principle here is concerned with property, with acquisition. And the last two terms, manas and Manovijnana, just reinforce this. Our thoughts, our mind is occupied with this, and Manovijnana represents the mind which is forgotten the true nature of awareness, and it's directed to a certain understanding of the world based on the senses. It's directed to an understanding of the world which says that what we experience through the senses reflects something real. It reflects the reality of the world. But it doesn't. All it's doing is reflecting a certain understanding of the world. So we're told that all these are names for discrimination. This is the power of consciousness once again getting caught up in its discriminations. And we can understand this quite simply. When we're aware of something, when I'm aware of this cup, it's not me being aware of the cup. There's just the cup. Awareness gets forgotten. There is just the cup. There is just the mouse. There isn't me being aware of the mouse, there's just the mouse. So this is what happens when we discriminate. Awareness gets forgotten. As enlightenment practitioners, we come back to the awareness though, because without this, there would be no cup, there would be no mouse, there would be no world.